I'm Bev Mundell-Atherstone. It's not funny, Danny. I was asked to write a funny poem about a premier who always frowns. To pull this off will be a feat. How to amuse about a well-known cheat. Tricking voters with truth that bends and twists. She makes black seem white. She does bewitch. She demonizes old and frail. Her cruelty, let's now unveil. She takes from the most vulnerable, moves Aish to ADAP. She's truly insufferable. Notwithstanding legal picket lines, she robs our kids of learning times. Selenium coal, her cancerous choice, supporting Northback, harsh her voice. Her two-tiered care is for the wealthy. Prepare to pay if you aren't healthy. While Alberta drowns in deficit, lush office carpets top her requisite. Flights with Saudis, thinks she's a queen. Alberta's oil chic loves to preen. To rule her country, she'll separate and steal our pensions. No debate. But her greedy backers are not loyal and don't give a fig that she thinks she's royal. They'll turf her out and find another verbose egoist whose brain they'll plunder. What's next for her? Where can she go? Our mini Trump flies to Mar-a-Lago. Melania greets her, but turns her out. There's no room for two queens who like to pout. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. So Teri said to mention if we've been up to something. I got to tell you, I had some pretty exciting stuff going out as Maple Fusion at a conference of 350 childcare workers, and it was just like spectacular. But I had to make up the poetry and the lines as I went, so it was pretty cool. Woo! Yeah. Great response. Okay, I've got two poems tonight, and the second one I'm saving because it's audience participation. Ooh, but this first one it's called Positive Thoughts, mostly. Now, I saw a quote today that said, positive attitude brings positive thoughts, or just a sec now, maybe it said positive thoughts bring positive attitude, but either way, it sounded very confident for something that clearly hadn't met my Monday morning brain. Because sometimes my thoughts are not positive. Sometimes my thoughts are more like, now, where did I put my keys? Why did I walk into this room? And who decided that 8 a.m. was a reasonable time for any human without a coffee or tea in bed? But the quote kept staring at me like it knew something. Like maybe positively isn't about floating around smiling like a motivational poster with a mountain and a sunrise in the background. Maybe it's much smaller than that. Maybe positivity is when somebody annoys you, and instead of saying what your brain suggests should come out your mouth, you pause and say something polite like, I wish for you the kind of day that encourages deep personal reflection in another room. Or, may your coffee always be decaf when you expect it otherwise. Or, my personal favorite, I hope the universe gives you exactly the energy you gave me. Which is a very positive way of saying, please leave. But nicely, because that's the real trick. Positive thoughts don't mean pretending that everything's perfect. They just mean choosing words that don't make the world worse, even if those words are basically kindness, with a tiny bit of sarcasm sprinkled on top like cinnamon on coffee. And honestly, that still counts. A positive attitude creates positive thoughts, which is great advice. Unfortunately, my brain still thinks like, coffee creates a positive attitude, and a positive attitude creates the illusion that I know what I'm doing. Now, Teri, what am I doing in this room?
I don't know. You're entertaining.
Thank you. Okay, so today I had, this is a poem, I don't know if you can see, but this is a poem in the works. And this is called Audience Participation. Okay, so everybody has to be a part of this poem. So about partway through, I'm going to ask you to do something. This poem is called One Word. That's it. One word. Now, it's been a while since I've written rhyme, but tonight I thought it was the perfect time, because poetry isn't just words we say, it's something we build this way. So I'll start with a question, quiet and true, and the answer is waiting inside each of you. I'd like you all to think of someone in your life today who lifts your spirits along the way. You got that? Okay. It's got to be someone kind, someone wise, someone who brightens cloudy skies, someone who helps when hope feels blurred. Now, think of them and choose one word. Just one word that you'd want them to hear, something honest, something sincere. It could be strong, brave, or kind, whatever first comes into mind. Now, hold on to that word. Everybody reach up, grab your word, and don't let it go. We're not at the moment for that part, not quite, but keep it close, hold it tight. Now here's a twist in this little rhyme. Look around you for just a time. Is the person you thought of in this room? If they are, hold your word with great pride. But if they're not sitting at your side, turn to the person next to you near and borrow that moment right here and come up with a word, one word for that person. Because when I say go in a minute or two, I want that word spoken from you. One word, okay, so 2 or 3 at the most. Something kind you'd want said the most. And if the person, this isn't rhyming, but if the person next to you isn't the one you've got the word for, shout it out anyways. Ready? 1, 2, 3, go! Wow, listen to that. A room full of grace, kind words, flying from place to place, because sometimes the people in our lives are the quiet hearts behind the scenes doing more than we ever see, being more than we've ever been. They hold the pieces together when days fall apart. They steady the rhythm of every heart. And sometimes we forget to say the words that matter along the way. But tonight, we're fixing that little neglect. Tonight, we pause to show respect. So now, second part of this, I want you all to think of somebody who stands at poetry's brink, someone who gives their time and care, who builds this space for all of us to share. Her name is Teri and Kat. So I would like you to think of one word or two, something that shows what they mean to you. Hold it ready, clear and loud, because we're going to make Teri and Kat proud. When I say go, let the gratitude flow. Ready? 1, 2, 3, go! Amazing! We hope, ladies, that tonight you know how much appreciation continues to grow for the work that you've done and the love that you spread, for the countless poems that have been read, for giving our voices a place to start, a home for rhythm, a home for heart. And if poetry runs like a bright, strong thread, it's because you ladies helped the words run ahead. Thank you, ladies.
Hello, everybody. I cut it down a little bit. Okay, this piece is one from my childhood. It's called My Friend Bill. It was the 60s, and we had no knowledge or even the language to describe pedophiles. We were common folk. Maybe police officers had this type of terminology, but not us. We hadn't even seen a police officer growing up. I was the youngest of 3, the product of a poor single-parent family. My dad worked 2 and 3 jobs to keep us in clothing and food. That left us in the care of a nanny. Our nannies weren't your modern-day type. Loving or liking children wasn't a prereq, or CPR, or even early childhood education. It was often someone willing to cook and clean to have a head or a roof over their head. We were desperate and they were desperate, and that was the basis of these relationships. Sometimes it was a family member if there was no one desperate enough, the same as we were, to step in. Some of our nannies had undiagnosed mental issues. Some were fleeing abusive relationships, and others had family issues and circumstances that would otherwise leave them homeless. We never heard any of these conversations. We were summoned to other parts of the house, and in low whispers, ripe with desperation, usually ended with my dad agreeing to help the wayward stranger, as was the case with crazy Susie. I believe she came to us from what would be coined back in the day as a mental asylum. She was lovely in her own peculiar way. My dad's primary concern for us was that we eat meat once a day. Susie's job was to nourish us with this overpriced delicacy every evening at dinner. Much of Susie's misfortune, and perhaps our own, is that she couldn't cook meat at all without burning it until it resembled coal. Every night she started with a choice piece of meat, nothing elaborate, maybe an unsuspecting pork sausage or chicken thigh. Eventually, a desperate call would summons one of us kids to the kitchen. We would find Susie in the kitchen, often bent over the cremated meat, and the only hope of moisture from the charred remains would be her tears. In a pleading yet convincing voice, she would instruct us to take the chunks of coal, or a crime detective might otherwise refer to as material evidence, out to the deep, dark corners of the garage, where we carefully concealed the proof of foul play in a garbage bag in the corner. Oops, I got my pages mixed here. Sorry, I just got to get my pages. This is what I get for shortening the story. Okay. So this was wonderful until the evidence was discovered in the spring. And before we knew it, that was the end of Crazy Susie. We never saw her again. I remember the day that she left us. Basically, she grabbed me and told me how much I would miss her. And I kind of had a bit of an uncomfortable moment, not feeling the same sort of emotion. I gave her a quick hug, and that was the end of it. I was going to tell you about all the other crazy folks and experiences that we had, but I'm just going to get right down to the brass tacks of things. I had a very close relationship with my dad, of course, being the youngest of 3 children. I was the baby of the family, and so he was my hero, my protector. He was my everything. I'm just going to catch my place here. My friend, because of my close relationship with my dad, my friend Bill certainly influenced this. And Bill would teach me something that no other person would teach me for the rest of my life. The days leading up to our last encounter were confusing, sad, and upsetting to me. My sister yanked me into a private talking area, which was the garage, and in low whispers, she asked me questions that I barely understood. So Bill was bigger than me. He was. We played a lot of games on our street, and I really loved Bill, and he really loved me. But my sister's questions as a 7-year-old, I couldn't quite understand why she would attack my friend this way and why she would ask these questions. So my defense to my friend was, he's nice and he's my friend. No, he didn't do anything like that, and he wouldn't either. Has he ever made you feel uncomfortable? Has he ever looked at you in a way that made you feel uneasy? Has he ever said anything to you that wasn't appropriate? To which I would respond, no, Bill is my friend, and I like him. One question after another assaulted me that afternoon. Has he ever touched you in a way that wasn't right? Be honest. No. I told you, Bill's my friend. Why are you saying these things? He wouldn't do anything like that. Because Bill is bigger and stronger than you, that's why. I know, but he's my friend, and he's fun, and he likes to play with me. The women on the street, they were not the loving mum types. They were undaunted by tears. They were cross-armed in situations that required empathy. I called them the Beetle women because I didn't have a better word to call them. They never bandaged our scraped knees or offered us a cool drink on a hot day. They never watched out for us. The women who genuinely cared for us would sit on a front porch stoop and drink coffee unassumingly as we ran through the neighborhood day and night. One of our games was German concentration, a post-war game. It was a hide-and-seek game. The home base was someone's front step, and the guards had to roam the neighborhood to find the prisoners, capture them, and take them to the front steps for confinement. Another prisoner could come and capture them and release them if the guard didn't see them. The game took hours, of course, which sometimes ran until midnight. What determined curfew was if one of us kids had to go to the bathroom. That was the worst thing that could happen. If we could sneak past our parents and get back outside, the game continued. I could never sneak past my dad. He was like a hawk. Well, you might as well stay in now that you're in. That was the no pleading and no negotiating. I'd have to inform my friends of the sad conclusion. Once one of us was in, the rest disbanded and went home for the night. When the Beetle women did intervene, it wasn't appreciated by anyone, especially my dad. Oh, you poor thing. And look at your hair. You need a haircut for school. One of them had broached a couple of years earlier. Well, let me tell you, when you're 5 years old and a Beetle woman asks you if they can cut your hair, you oblige. That was memorable. Who cut your hair? Was my dad's question at dinner. Tootsie's mum, I answered flatly. I can still see my dad's face as he got up from the table and turned on his heels and went out the back door. Me and my siblings didn't say a word as my dad stomped across the street like a steam engine. My brother might have mentioned the fact that the bowl-shaped haircut was crooked. Those Beto women were probably the ones who pressured my sister to asking those horrible questions. They probably orchestrated the events that led to the demise of my friendship with Bill. Part of me understood why my sister was worried, but why couldn't she just believe me when I said that Bill was nice? Yes, Bill hugged me and wanted to hold my hand, but I wasn't going to tell her that. She would think it was bad, and it wasn't bad. One time he tried to follow me into the bathroom. I told him, no, you wait here, and he begrudgingly obliged. Once he even told me that he loved me. I never told him that I loved him. Bill always wanted to hide with me. We always got caught because he was too big to fit into the best hiding spots. I hated getting caught with Bill because he couldn't be quiet when someone tried to release us from the steps. He was too slow to get away, and we would get nabbed by the guard every single attempt to escape. I know he's my friend and he's fun and he likes to play with me. This statement triggered a dramatic pause from my sister, rubbing her temples for a few minutes before delivering her final assault. You better be careful around him. Don't get too close to him. Don't go anywhere alone with him. Do you understand? Okay, I blurted out defiantly, pushing past her into the fresh air and sunlight. Why is she being so mean, I wondered. It was probably those Beto women who lived on our street. I called them Beto women because that was the worst thing that I could think of. They always made me feel inadequate. They thought my dad was a bad person, although I didn't understand why. They didn't even know him. I would catch snippets of their whispers, conversations, and disapproving sneers. A father raising daughters. That's just wrong. If I could talk to Bill today, sorry, I missed a page here. I'm never cutting half the story out again. I don't even have to get the page. I remember the day that Bill was removed from our street, my little friends and I standing there. He was kicking and screaming and thrashing and crying. And I didn't know what to do. I wanted to cry, but I was stunned and I was in shock. And it suddenly occurred to me that Bill was the size of a man. And I thought to myself, if he's a man, how is he going to do men thing? Because as 7-year-olds, he belonged with us. And who was going to teach him how to be a man? And I just remember standing there and the Beto women standing with their crossed arms, self-righteous and, unempathetic at all. As Bill was dragged off, it stayed with me for over 60 years now. If I could talk to Bill today, I would say that I'm sorry that the world didn't show you the compassion that you deserve or the understanding that you needed. It was a difficult time then. It was wrought with suspicion and dominated by righteousness. I would tell you that you were the best 7-year-old I'd ever met that was trapped in a man's body. If you haven't figured it out yet, my friend Bill was severely intellectually challenged. What my friend Bill taught me that no one else would teach me for the rest of my life until today is how horrific social justice is on the most vulnerable and helpless amongst us. Thank you.
Hi. This is my first time ever reading my poetry to an audience, so... Closer, okay. I've got 2 poems tonight that are coming straight out of a poetry book that I'm currently writing. And the book is dedicated to the love of my life. So, My life has always felt like a puzzle, spread out across the table, pieces scattered all over, half upside down, no picture on the box. Most people are given an image, a hand from the people in their lives who care. I had to figure mine out with no guidance, learning the shape of things by trial and error. I built it slowly, carefully, until I could finally see what it was becoming. And then, when it started to make sense, she picked it up to see. Everything I'd set so carefully started to fall out of place. I tried to gather it, tried to remember where each piece belonged, but right when it looked whole again, she let it go and it hit the ground. Pieces fell. They scattered all over the floor. The image shattered, and I forgot what it was supposed to look like at all. So I started over, from the edges, building my frame. I sat alone with it again, relearning the picture, remembering pieces I had figured out long ago. Just when the photo started to look right again, you sat down beside me. No questions, no sudden movements. You reached out for a piece and set it where it belonged. You didn't try to redesign the image. You didn't scatter what I'd rebuilt. You helped me place things where I wanted them to go. And now looking at it, the image almost completed. The picture looks different than how I remember, but it's not because it was broken by another person. It's because someone finally chose to sit down and build it with me. And the second one I've got is called Proof. I was built on love where proof was needed. Evidence of affection was mandatory, but also never enough. I had to reach to new heights to show her I cared. The bar was raised with every word I spoke, but to her it was nothing but a lie, a fabrication of a feeling. My words were not enough. My presence was not enough. She spiraled further into despair, begging, pleading to be seen, to be loved. But I gave her every piece of my heart. It wasn't enough. I broke myself down in desperation. I lost sight of who I was. She started to reject my attempts of proving my emotions. She told me it was never enough. She told me I was never enough. You entered my life right after I found myself again. I'll admit I was afraid, but I was quickly shown that fear was illogical. You showed me that affection was voluntary. You didn't need proof. There was no pressure. My presence was enough. My affections were an extra bonus. You appreciated every word I wrote you. Every gift from my heart was cherished like a treasure. My love flowed from me naturally and not forced. My confidence grew. My creativity grew. You brought out a side of me that was lost long ago. You told me you felt love. You accepted my affections with open arms. You told me that I was enough. Or it was enough. You told me that I was enough.
So I wrote a poem called Sea Waves. Front and back the sea waves go, front and back they'll always go. I can step on it, pray for it to stop, yell at it, even despise it, but it doesn't matter. Front and back the sea waves go, front and back they'll always go. I can perceive going forward as success and coming back as failure, but that makes no difference. Front and back the sea waves go, front and back they'll always go. When does this ever stop? I asked in frustration. It depends, the universe answered. For if the sea is still, it means it lost its life.
I've got just one poem tonight. It's a little bit grim, I suppose, so I apologize for bringing down the mood, potentially. Anyways, onwards. Okay. My anger is a mangy, emaciated thing, crawling with filth. It bristles, snarling, panting, pained, fighting against the tether, choking as it pulls. Blood, spit, and vomit mixing in the matted fur. It will not let the chain go slack. Unable to breathe, it coughs and sputters. Pacing, whining, begging, pleading, teeth bared as it cries out. Dull claws scrape against the ground, caked in mud and muck, grinding against the stone, cracked and chipping, feet torn, shredded, raw, churning up the earth below. It sobs, weeping, whimpering, wailing, screaming, broken sounds like agonal breathing.
So this is from a book I'm writing called Inventory of a Ghost. Sorry, is that better? So it's a book I'm writing called Inventory of a Ghost, when there's nothing left to lie to. This collection of poetry was born in a dark point of my life, a time when I didn't know if I was going to make it out alive. It was a consuming abyss that held me in a grip that was felt impossible to break. It claimed years of my life. It took things from me that are irreplaceable, costing me friends, jobs, homes, and ultimately the person I used to be. It is not easy to share these words. At the time of writing, I didn't even know how to explain the chaos and struggle deep inside. Whether it is addiction or depression, the darkness we face is a solitary path. No one can truly understand another person's internal battle, even if they have walked a similar road. To those who still judge, you are no different than the shadows we fight. And to those who are still in the dark, these words are for you. A battle not won for those who lost their fight. This ever-expanding abyss is midnight black. It swallows everything I once carried light, a veil of pure evil mastering good. It claims my vessel. It clouds my soul, a suffocating fabric pressed tight against my flame. Each breath fights to burn, fights to live. Yet silent roars within me, a war with no witnesses. Explosions rage within, but the world hears nothing. I scream until my lungs betray me, and still, no sound escapes. My once eternal spring of hope has thinned from a roaring river to a faint trickle of a stream. The ghost of something once so vibrant is now an empty shell of what was. The foundation I once stood has fractured, crumbling to rubble. No longer strong enough to support me, I run without direction, heavy, unbalanced, and blind. That is when I feel her. I am her prey, and she is the huntress. Her talons are blades sharpened for the taking. I clamp down and pain blooms, piercing, crushing, absolute. Her eyes are cold as she holds me. I am nothing but another trophy. Her grip tightens, my breath breaks into gasps. Each attempt to live is answered with lightning pain. She squeezes again. My strength dissolves into the abyss. I watch my flame, my very essence of my existence, flicker and die beneath me. The smoke from what was has taken over. It lingers. And just for a moment, there's calm, almost peace. Then, even that descends into the abyss, swallowed whole. I look into the huntress's cold, black, empty eyes one final time, and I understand. She was my addiction, and I was her prey. I fought as long as I could, but she always knew when to strike. There were no rewinds, no restart, no choice who lived or died. Sobriety was never theirs to hold. For those who lost their battle, those strings were cut long before they reached for them. She lifted my hollow soul and cast it back into the abyss, ready for the next hunt to unfold. This one's called The Huntress. I do not chase what can escape. I wait. I'm born in the quiet fractures, in a pause between want and will. I do not roar. I do not need to. They come to me already cracked. I know the shape of longing. I know the sound a flame makes when it's starving itself to feel the warmth. You mistook me for power. You mistook me for relief. You mistook me for something you thought you could control. But I never hunt strength, only exhaustion. You ran when the ground failed you, heavy, unbalanced, blind. I was already there, not ahead of you, but woven into the path. My grip was not cruel, my grip was exact. Pain is simply the language of endings, and I speak it fluently. I did not hate you. Hate requires effort. I saw you the way storms see trees, the way fire sees oxygen. You call yourself prey. That isn't entirely true. Prey? Huh, they fight to live. You wanted to fade away, to disappear. I watched your flame flicker, not with hunger, but with recognition. You knew me, you had always known me. I'm not addiction. I'm the promise addiction lies about. I do not choose who lives or dies, but know for certain not all survive. I only take what is offered after hope loosens its grip. When I released you, the abyss did not close. It waited. It always waits.
My first one is an I Am poem. I just wrote it a couple of weeks ago. I am from 1960s American suburbia. I am from that strangling rope supposedly hauling families into utopia. Every home with a lawn, every living room every bedroom far enough away from neighbors, for all the privacy that your friendly neighborhood wife-beater or pedophile could ever desire. I am from expectations to be a soft, malleable, lovely Catholic young woman, bringing honor to her family through my piano playing, my recitals with long skirts and roses. I am from clear instructions to either be a physician or marry one. I don't care which. My father emphasizing that he didn't care which. I am from clear instructions that I was not to be dating any Negro man. Our family doesn't do that kind of experimentation, dear Daddy explained. I am from frustration, never anger. Anger just isn't ladylike, is it? I am from a boot camp teaching me how to bottle up frustration, so filled up with frustration, packed down and overflowing. But not anger, never anger. Such a gentle young woman is never angry. And now, the Baba Yaga in me growls. This one is a response to the times. Silence. How do you see an absence when distraction and macabre dancing tunes overwhelm the mind? By a river in Europe, there are hundreds of pairs of shoes, a monument of empty shoes, witness to those lost in the World War II Holocaust. I'm tired. I'm just so tired of humans acting like hyper 6-year-old little boys with machine guns. Such fun, they squealed.
This one's called The Willows Have Fallen Away from the House. Swimming through the night like a shadow in the sea, going in the air, being what I got to be. I am just a person who is reading all the lines. I am just a nightmare who formulates designs. I have felt the future drop from somewhere above. Am I gonna make it up? Wear it like a glove. Felt the money fall to me from within the sky. Put it all into a truck, you're going for a ride. I have seen the people now hanging round the bend. I am color purple now, I wonder where it went. You see me as I am not, I'm just a busted bean. Something to drop in the pot and tell me what I mean. I have given up the days when I followed through, when I walked within the park looking for something new. Left my monkey to decide whether he should dance. Sitting on my shoulder now, it's what he represents. I have given all my grief out to parties there. I have sought all the relief, I'm sitting in a chair. I don't want to wake you up and put you on the shelf. All the rivers must decide whether there's something else. Broke away from all the eyes, still fastened on myself. Trying not to tell a lie, the speaker starts to melt. All the rivers made of cheese, floating down some brie. Maybe just some camembert, get there eventually. Thank you. This one's called The Doorbell Rings and Time Decides. If my health is fine, then everything is good. Gonna post a sign and will be understood. All the days have passed, didn't see 'em as they went. Waiting for the day, all the money being spent. Open up a door that leads to the other side. Give a little more, nothing else you gotta hide. Salmon in a stream passing by you on their way. Stuck inside a dream, all the words you didn't say. Nobody is waiting for a chance to prove themselves. On the river skating as they ring a dinner bell. All the trees are filled with snow, broken branches bend. Watch out everyone below, it's coming down again. As I see the time remain, it's stuck upon repeat. Dancing in the shadows now, it's got you on your feet. Where I'm moving, far away, somewhere to be seen. Put it all into a box, feed it to the machine. All my life is scattershot, bullet holes remain. I have tried to say a lot, but everything's the same. Fire rises from my wounds and pours out in the day. Like a blazing inferno, it cuts and devastates. Hungry for the days to come, it's put upon my plate. Experience is coming down as I await my fate. Waiting for a bruise to heal, so I will not be sore. All the real there is to feel, can't buy it from the store. Thank you.
So much stuff. I don't even know where to start. But a funny story, I realized I've never actually read these out loud before I got here, so that'll be fun. I'm going to start with this one. It's called the Gaslight District. These are roads I seldom walk, not my usual stomping ground. It feels so strange to raise my eyes and realize where I'm bound. My vision clears as I remove these rosy tinted glasses, to lift my eyes up from the ground and catch myself wandering around this hazy gaslight district. Once obscured, now truth surrounds. It took a while, but now it's found. Your journey started innocent, but then began a fast descent into the fog, thick, confusing tug, playing on every fear and insecurity, warping already frail reality a spiral down. Feet stuck to the ground, you try to scream. I watch you, but you don't make a sound. Thanks. This one's called Ghosts. I live downtown, and I have for about a decade now. And I see some really interesting things looking out my window, and this was one of them. It's not an uncommon scene. The ghosts move slow around here, but these specters are different. These ones have shadows. They bow down low like reeds in a hurricane, even with no breeze to bend the trees. Sometimes they dance to touch the ground. Sometimes they don't get up. They're the lost souls under streetlights, wanderers at twilight, leaners in your doorways, shivers in the cold. Sometimes they whisper, sometimes they scream, sometimes they are silenced. Face countless judgments, but seldom heard, living nameless, faceless, only defined by life's cruel placement. Translucence takes over as we look right through, and broken gaze that won't look back speaks of a life too. Thanks.
I read this poem last month that I was here, but this year, last month. But this month, today is actually my really good friend's death date. So I wrote this one about him because he ended up taking his life last year. So this is my poem. It's called What a Loss. If you took your life, time would freeze. The day after you take your life, your mom will sit on your bed still unmade from the day before. The day after you take your life, your dad will sit in his car looking at the dashboard where your shoe prints still remain. He won't wash them away because that's the last piece of you that he still has. He sits and contemplates whether he was there for you enough, whether he saw the signs. The day after you take your life, your best friend will sit on the front porch looking at their phone at the pictures you guys took at a party you snuck out for. Your classmates will hold an assembly in your memory with that one silly photo of you took in foods class with an orange slice as your smile. Time will freeze and nothing will be the same again. You're not there to cheer on your friends when playing school Jeopardy. Your family would mourn alone, not communicating. Your mom won't get out of bed after finding your final note, not knowing you wrote 10 before. The day after you take your life, all the secrets you promised you would take to the grave will forever remain unspoken. The biggest secret of all was that you weren't okay, but that's the only one out in the open. The proof, the receipts is on everyone's mantle, the obituary with your picture picked out by your mom. The day after you take your life will forever be named the biggest loss. And the second one, I wrote about my father. I saw your look, Auntie. This one is called Dancing with the Devil. If you cannot tell, he's not a very polite man. But yeah. I've met the devil, and he's not what you would think. He's not red, he doesn't have horns, his hair is well done, and his smile is warm. He doesn't wear raggedy clothes, he dresses quite nice. He's polite and the best at getting you to change your mind. I've met a few in my life, and they all had something in common. The devil can walk out of your life and make you still feel like he's around, still wanted. The devil I know used to go by the name Dad. But now he's a stranger. I'm unwanted. Daddy knows best, Daddy knows all, but Daddy also never picked me up when I would fall. The devil sat and laughed as I cried on the concrete, and he's still bloody. The devil seems sweet, but the more you get to know him, the more his smile turns to a grin. He sits in his chair spitting hurtful words, but you have to forgive him because it's not him talking, it's the juice engine. The devil's voice is quiet and soft. You would never think that he would judge you because he covers his judgment with a cough. I danced with the devil. I called it the daddy-daughter dance. But now Daddy's nowhere to be found. He's been replaced with someone called Satan. Thank you.
I'd like to read part of a prose I wrote and published on my Substack today. It's about my brother who died on January 8th this year. Last year, the doctors found out that Adi, my brother, had tumors in multiple internal organs. He refused treatment, even biopsy. The family was not happy about his decision, but as his disease progressed, even his doctors agreed that he made the right decision. Adi has spent as much time at home as he could, and sometime last December, he had to go to a treatment center because he needed oxygen, IV medication, and professional care. Ilike, his wife, visited him every day and made all his favorite foods for him. Adi asked his son Robert to take care of his will, and Robert asked a lawyer friend to do it for him. Granting Ilike's wishes to stay with her during the holidays, Adi did, and passed away on January 8, 2026. I think sometimes people wait during the holidays. This March, 2 months after Adi passed away, when I spoke with my sister-in-law, Ilike, she told me that Adi has sent her flowers, and she has sent me a picture of a beautiful rose bouquet. I cried when I saw it. It touched me so deeply that my brother did that. Ilike told me that he used to buy her flowers for every occasion when he was still alive. At some point in all the end-of-life preparations, Adi made arrangements for his wife to receive flowers even after he passed away. What a guy. He must have gotten that from his little sister. That was a joke. But joking aside, there was one big thread in common between Adi and me, among many others. The biggest parallel and the deepest common thread was our love for gardening, our knowledge of plants, how to take care of them, and our love for flowers and beautiful things. Farming and gardening runs in our Schwaben bloodline, which is a German bloodline. And even after he moved to the city from a small village, and I moved across the world and lived in a city, our love for plants and beauty stayed with us. I am so touched by Adi's gesture to his wife he loved so much. For 57 years, they have been married. May he be remembered by all the flowers and beautiful things. Rest in peace, Adi. I love you very much. And now, something a little more cheerful. I've been following this Hungarian journalist for a few months now and watched his videos. And this guy can dig up some beautiful stories in the worst of places in this world. One of the stories that I watched and I was very touched by was a lady who was a nurse in 1962 in Hungary, in the capital city. And suddenly the government brought a bunch of Albanian kids to this hospital she was working at. And she immediately connected with one little boy who was very sick. And they were inseparable for 9 months until the government made a decision to ship these kids back to Albania. And this little boy, who was, I believe, 7 at the time, kept writing the lady in Hungarian for many years. I graduated school. I graduated high school. I now got my doctorate. And I became a doctor inspired by my experience in Hungary. And the journalist was so touched by her story, he took her to Albania to meet this young man who is now a doctor. And he took her around the country. And I watched this video of the two of them being so happy to reunite after 50-some years. I was really touched by their story. And after that, I wrote this poem, End of the Day Pleasures. There is nothing like the contentment from a day you reached your goals and did well. Whether you created something new, learned a lesson, or completed a long project, you end the day with an inner smile. You sit down to rest, and you read or watch some heart-lifting stories of people reuniting after 50 years of being apart. And you see their love outlast time, defied age, borders, and all other obstacles. Those stories are true nourishment for the heart, and we need them in a regular dose. You feel euphoric from all the feel-good hormones, and the feeling carries you through the hard days. Count your blessings and plan your days to fill your heart with those good feelings. Sleep well and dream sweet dreams.